Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be talking about Camelot 331. This is a content creator and NASCAR driver who has found himself as the latest victim of cancel culture, where some people at a convention where he was supposed to be a featured guest at have determined that he is problematic, and they complain to the leadership of this event, and lo and behold, he has been removed from that convention. Now, before we get into the details of this situation, I want to put all the cards on the table. I have talked about Cam once before, and it was in a critical way. He made these tweets about 2 years ago about FaZe Connect member Pippa, where he said, "Caught the girl at my house that is definitely not Pippa taking pics of my kitties." To clarify very quickly, this is not Pippa. Okay, this caused a lot of confusion. Apparently, the two are not exactly close enough for this to be a reasonable joke, and a lot of FaZe Connect members were slamming Cam for this tweet, and eventually he would quote-unquote apologize, where he capitalized certain letters in the tweet, which would spell out FaZe is gay. Okay, so before we get into everything here, there's two things I want to point out. Number one, I don't think a lame set of tweets should define someone forever. Everyone makes some bad takes here and there, but most importantly, number two, I will talk about someone who I disagree with on certain matters if they're the victim of cancel culture, and in this case, he is very clearly being persecuted because of his worldview, his politics, his beliefs, his comedy, all the things that have been determined as wrongthink, as problematic, whatever term you want to use. And what is going on with this particular situation? It involves Raleigh Retro Gamers. So Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a owner that's hosting an event here called Game and Geek Expo 2025. And of course, the first thing they say when you look at their website, you belong here. Ah, yes. You belong here as long as you agree with all their viewpoints, because he has been kicked. Here is the tweet he shared talking about this, saying, "To all the people who bought tickets to come see me at the Game and Geek Expo, I have been kicked from the event. One of the vendors and photographers from the event said I'm a Nazi, so I have been canceled from the show." Yeah, first of all, why does a vendor or photographer, for that matter, care about this guy? Why do they care? Why do they have a say in any of this? He has been invited. He was accepted as a guest. He was invited. He took the role. He was supposed to be a featured guest at this convention, and obviously he has a big social media following. He's also a NASCAR driver. Obviously, there's a lot of appeal towards him, and that's probably one of the reasons they brought him to this event in the first place. But of course, these photographers and vendors somehow think they have a say, and they've been rewarded by these people who took their feelings into consideration and dropped Camelot as a result of their complaints. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's very obviously because he has a conservative set of viewpoints. That's what they're doing here. That's happened many times before, but let's look at the actual email he was sent. It says, "Hi Cody, thank you again for your interest in being part of Game and Geek Expo. We appreciate the time and effort you've put into your content and the support you've shown towards our events. After careful consideration, we've made the decision to move forward without your involvement in this year's show. While we truly appreciate your recent efforts, including the removal of one of your flag videos," big mistake. So apparently they complained about one of his videos. They flagged it, and he tried to comply with them, and he deleted the video, and guess what? It doesn't work. You can't work with these people. When they start asking you to censor yourself or to remove videos, it's never going to stop there. It's never going to be enough, and that was a mistake on his behalf here. But it was an honest effort to try to remedy what was going on here. But the email continues, "Additional content has since surfaced that has raised continued concerns from our community, guests, and sponsors. Unfortunately, we've already experienced the loss of a sponsor and several other guest participants due to this situation, and is beginning to negatively affect the overall perception and inclusivity of our event. Please understand this is not a reflection on you as a creator, but rather a necessary step to ensure we are maintaining a space that is welcoming, respectful, and positive for all attendees and partners. We absolutely respect your right to creative expression and free speech, but we also have a responsibility to our broader community." So basically, this is not a reflection on you, and we respect you, but get out. Yeah, get the hell out of here, dude. Yeah, apparently his line of thinking, his content, it's not good enough. You don't belong here is what they're saying while they tote the message in their about section about everyone belonging here. Very ironic. But he also would release a call he had with the president of Raleigh Retro Gamers, where he discusses with him why this is all happening and really try to get to the core of why he's been removed. And I'm going to share a small segment of this call that makes it very clear he's being removed because he is problematic.
Like negating like how we could move forward. Because dude, and it's exactly what you were alluding to in your video is, you know, people taking sides and like harping and going off about it. Like, I mean, it's exactly what you said, bro. Like they're fucking gonna make a big deal out of it.
Yep.
And I get that, and I totally get that. Like I get what you were saying. I get where you're coming from, man. Like I completely respect like your thoughts and opinions on it, and I'm not trying to say, oh, you're wrong or whatever. Like I don't want you to think that this is like an attack against you, or like obviously you don't care, but like you don't care what I think or what my opinion is. But that's why you have the followers that you have, because you have no filter. You just fucking tell it like it is. I get that, bro.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, like man to man, like bro, like this is fucking everything that I put everything into this community, and when a big majority of it is like having issues, like that's when I'm trying to like look, dude, I don't go left, I don't go right. I'm agnostic to politics completely. I don't give a fuck about any of that shit. I really don't. I just want people to come to my fucking events.
Yeah.
And that's that. And Cody, I'm telling you, that's literally all I care about, bro. I just want them to come. Like our events are like, man, that's something that's kind of like something that we have here. Like people that would never hang out with each other are there, and they're there just for the fucking games and shit, like the video games and all the stuff that we have. Like this convention is something that just kind of, you know, popped up here in the last, and we only did this in the last 3 months. Most people, you know, they plan this shit out for years.
Yeah.
Like this is literally, I was just doing stuff in my local community, man.
Yeah, so an absolutely cowardly situation. This guy clearly is so afraid about the reputation of his event, he will gladly kick to the curb guests that he allowed as a part of this convention because people are giving him a little pressure. See, I can say that I've been in situations like this too, with multiple conventions where I've had people trying to gun after me, try to get me removed from conventions. And I'll share one that is kind of the opposite of what Cam has experienced. About 2 years ago, I was a featured guest at a convention, and to not drag them into drama, I won't name them directly, but one of the companies I work with, one of my sponsors, was at the event, and I met one of the head honchos, if you will, from that company, and I met them backstage at an event, and they handed me a drink, and they asked me a question right off the bat. They basically said, Rev, why are people so angry at you? And I'm like, well, here's what I do for content, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I deal with. And he says, I asked that because, you know, personally speaking from events I've been a part of and talking with the showrunners of this convention, we've never seen the amount of complaints that you've received because of your content, the amount of people emailing and making complaints trying to get you removed from this event. I'm like, oh, well, that's great. Not too shocking, but anyways, they would go on to say, I just don't understand this because I've watched your content. I think what you do is great, and not to glaze myself over there, like, thank you for having the balls to say what you say, essentially. And they ended it by saying, don't worry about all this stuff. We got your fucking back. And I remember that being like one of the greatest things to hear as a content creator who has to deal with a bunch of people trying to engage in life ruination, trying to get your sponsors removed, trying to get you removed from conventions and stuff like that. I share that not just to share a funny story about that, but to basically give the right way of handling this stuff. And this is how these conventions should stand up for the people that are either their partners or people who are featured guests at their event. Because after all, Camelot was a featured guest. He was offered a position here and he accepted, and then they turn around and kick him out. That is absolute BS, and I think that is literally the definition of cancel culture, and luckily a lot of people are seeing this, they're calling it out for what it is, including other people who are a part of the convention, including this individual right here saying, I was looking forward to announcing a meetup in Raleigh at this convention, but after they banned a fellow creator for exercising free speech, I can't support it. I won't be part of something that promotes cancel culture and turns a gaming event into a political stage. The censorship needs to stop. And we need to see this more often with these events where someone's getting thrown under the bus in the pursuit of cancel culture. And we need other people to stand up and say, nope, I was originally supposed to be a part of this, but after seeing what's happening to one of the other fellow content creators here, I'm out. And something very similar, again, another experience I had involved Kirsha, who weighed in on the situation saying, basically, I have my own disagreements and my own history with Cam, but what's happening to him is incredibly unfair. And I bring her up because about a year ago, Kirsha, me and my wife were all supposed to be featured guests at OffKai 2024. And Kirsha was eventually let go, basically for the same reasoning as Cam from this recent convention. She was problematic, and some of the vendors and stuff like that, some of the staff, they didn't like her. They were so soft and fragile, they had to get rid of her because they just couldn't coexist with someone who has a different viewpoint than them. Me and my wife, seeing that back last year, we said, yeah, no way. We're not going to be a part of this. We gave up our positions in protest of what's going on, and we ended up basically crashing the event anyways. We a couple of Kirsha's fans brought in a little tripod. We did like a behind-the-scenes meetup. We even walked through the convention on the tripod with our models and everything, but that's a whole nother story you can check out on your own. But basically, yes, that's another example of people trying to do the right thing and not support cancel culture, even if it comes at a sacrifice of your own. Because being a featured guest at a convention is obviously a really cool thing, but of course, it's nice to stand up for other people, even if you have to sacrifice something yourself in the pursuit of battling cancel culture and supporting free speech. And I guess there's a good ending to this. Cam Wood announced that a different convention and the owner of it would text him saying they're appalled at what was happening with the Game and Geek convention here, and they offered a position and to fly him out to be a guest at this convention. So if there's a good ending here, that's what it is. This is the Streisand effect in motion here, where you have this convention that was probably completely controversy-free, and of course, a couple people complain. They take them seriously. They punish content creators for exercising free speech and having a supposed wrongthink, and now it blows up in their face. Now this whole convention is mired in controversy, and it's all self-created because these people simply couldn't say no. The vendors, whether it was the photographer or whoever, they couldn't just look at them and say, no, you're going to have to deal with this. People think differently than you, and you're going to have to deal with it if you're going to work at this convention. It really should be that simple, and I wish more vendors, sponsors, and convention runners would do this, but unfortunately, this is the situation for now. But anyways, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.